Welcome to Journey to Daybreak. I'm Rita Golden. Today's program is going to deal with grief and loss and the difficulty we all have in dealing with it. I would like to begin with sharing something with you from a great writer of our day, H. Norman Wright. Listen to the image he projects concerning loss as being like a wave, and see if you do not see yourself in this image. I quote, "Grief is like a wave. It comes rolling in from a far-off place. I could no more push it back than if I were standing in the water at the beach. I could not fight the wave. It moved over me and under me and broke against me, but I could never stop it. It yielded to my presence, and so yielding arrived at its destination. It worked around me. The harder I fought it, the more exhausted I became. So it is with grief. If I tried to fight it, it would vanquish me. If I pushed it down, it would stick in my soul and emerge as something else: anger, depression, bitterness, and exhaustion. If I yielded to the waves and let it carry me, however, it would take me to a new place." Wright goes on to say that grief exposes who we really are inside. The more we stand and fight and rail against grief, the more exhausted we come. Resisting it is an excuse in futility. Here is the quote that I believe helps us. "The more you accept it, hold out your arms to it, and even embrace it, the more you will recover." Now I would like to read Psalm of David, Psalm 6. "O Lord, do not rebuke me in your anger, or discipline me in your wrath. Be gracious to me, O Lord, for I am languishing. O Lord, heal me, for my bones are shaking with terror. While you, O Lord, how long? Turn, O Lord, save my life. Deliver me for the sake of your steadfast love. For in death there is no remembrance of you. In Sheol, who can give you praise? I am weary with my moaning. Every night I flood my bed with tears. I drench my couch with my weeping. My eyes waste away because of grief. They grow weak because of all my foes. Depart from me, all you workers of evil, for the Lord has heard the sound of my weeping. The Lord has heard my supplication. The Lord accepts my prayer." And now, here is the Reverend Dr. Martha Toney, who is going to share some thoughts in the area of grief and loss. Dr. Toney.
Greetings, this is Dr. Martha Toney. Thank you for joining us today on Journey to Daybreak. Well, as Rita has told us, that grief is like a wave. And the best way we can face it is to accept it, hold out our arms to it, and even embrace it. If we do that, we will recover eventually. You're probably thinking right now, that sounds easy for you to say. And I'm sure that it's not so easy as it was not for me in an experience of my life when I went through breast cancer. And I remember one time in my life as a chaplain going to the on-call room, and I hurriedly picked up my suitcase, which was very heavy. When I got in front of the on-call room, I heard my wrist snap. And so, to make a long story short, my wrist snapped in a way that caused me to ultimately lose the use of 3 fingers on my right hand, which, as you know, I would need my right hand in life. And so it sounds like a small thing, but it took a lot of joy away that I had enjoyed, and one of the joys I had was playing the piano. Since that time, I've not been able to play the piano. And while I cannot even imagine the trauma of your loss or your illness and its effect on so many areas of your life, I do fully understand the depression, the anger, the guilt, the isolation, the feeling of failure, unforgiveness, pride, the need for surrender to that which we no longer have control, the feeling of victim of our circumstances, the frustration of the medical community when they make mistakes or they just don't get it. And here is the hard-earned truth. We do need to yield to life as it is now. But in grief and loss, it's always we just cannot yet. This takes a lot of work. It is a painful and hard work. Hard work. It is filled with deep emotion, tears, remorse, and the progress is just 1 step forward and 5 steps backwards. Another image of Wright's is that of the 1930s Dust Bowl. It is said that fine particles of dust gathered everywhere when the Dust Bowl hit Oklahoma. No matter how people put rugs under the doors and windows, dust seeped through and drenched everything. And so it is with grief. There is no area of life that is not touched by grief. And then there are all those people that say the dumbest things like, "I just know how you feel." And you're thinking, no, you don't. You don't have a clue how I feel. Then one finally turns to God, and for some reason, even God seems like he's on vacation. Eventually comes the predictable question, why me? What did I do to deserve this? Our faith gets very shaken. Our friends get shaken. Some even abandon us, which only increases the anger we feel. Our spouses get tired, and our family thinks we should just have a stiff upper lip. At last, we find ourselves in the place that great writer C.S. Lewis so wonderfully describes. And I'm quoting, "Imagine yourself living in a house. God comes in to rebuild that house. And that is what loss and grief is like, rebuilding from the ground up. At first, perhaps you can understand what he is doing. He's getting the drains right, stopping the leaks in the roof, and so on. You knew that those jobs needed doing, and so you're not surprised. This is life before grief and loss. But when something horrible hits us, presently, God starts knocking the house down in a way that hurts abominably and does not seem to make sense. What on earth is he up to? The explanation is that God is building quite a different house from the one you thought of throwing out a new wing here, putting on an extra floor there, running up towers, making courtyards. You thought you were going to be made into a decent little cottage, but he is building a palace, and he intends to come and live in it himself. Now, I am not saying to you that I think God goes around punishing people. Now, of course, I'm not saying that Lewis is saying that we should not feel things when we have trauma or illness. But he's not speaking of the trauma of illness in our bodies. He's speaking of God doing something new in our spiritual life. However, there is something here in the imagery to be noticed. Image is not one of alteration, but demolition. And going through a traumatic event is life at ground zero. At this point, there's nothing left but the ground cover of the foundation. It is just you and that foundation, and this can either be a make or break moment. When the house of life, as you have always known it, appears after the dust settles, there are some life-altering decisions to make. You know them. Will I curse God and die? Will I blame the world, myself, and others? Will I run and hide? refuse to re-enter life again? Will I lash out, refuse to invest ever again in the things I love? All these questions will come up, and how we answer them will determine our future. How will I live with what I have left? That is the question. And this is where faith comes in. Faith in God when your house is blown apart. The house of your health, your finances, your relationships, spiritual associations, all of these houses stand at a crucial point. What is there to do now? I've noticed in my chaplain work and hospital experience that it's very difficult to know what to say when other people are going through grief. So I want to share with you 10 things that one can say to others and 10 things that one should not say to others. So I'm going to start with the things we should not say. Here are 10. At least she lived a long life. Many people die young. Well, he's in a better place now. She brought this on herself. There is a reason for everything. Aren't you over him yet? He's been dead for a while now. You can still have another child. She was such a good person. God wanted her to be with him. I know how you feel. She did what she came here to do, and it was her time to go. Just be strong. Here are some things you can say that will be very helpful. I am so sorry for your loss. I wish I had the right words. Just know that I care. I really don't know how you feel, but I'm here to help you any way that I can. You and your loved one will be in my thoughts and prayers. My favorite memory of your loved one is how much she enjoyed Christmas, or whatever. I'm always just a phone call away. Or you can just give someone a hug and don't say anything. Or you can say something like, we all need help at times like this. I'm here for you. I'm usually up early or late. If you need anything, just give a call. The best thing you can do for someone in grief is to say nothing. Just be present. For over a decade, my life's work has been as hospice and hospital chaplain. Recently, I wrote a book called Journey to Daybreak, and it addresses some of the dark times of life that we all have to go through, and it also helps one to find the light in the middle of deep crises. You can find all the information you need at my webpage. That would be www.marthatoney.com. Martha Toney. That's Toney. marthatoney.com. If you'd like a signed copy, on the webpage you will find an email address. You can write to Dr. Martha Toney, P.O. Box 160053, Boiling Springs, South Carolina 29316. And for a donation of any amount, I will send a signed copy, or you may just go ahead and order direct there at the webpage. This book would be a wonderful gift for those that you may know who are going through difficult times. So I pray the Lord will bless you, and until next time, keep walking in the light.